Good morning. And Julian, would you like to come up front as well? And we'll hopefully have your sister in a minute. We're going to begin this morning by reading a story. We're going to be reading through the story of Joseph for the next several weeks. Is there anything that you guys remember about Joseph? Who is Joseph in the Bible? Yeah? Ooh, you're close. Joseph is not the man that freed. That was Moses, right? Joseph actually was one of the first ones to go down to Egypt. He was actually sold into slavery in Egypt. Joseph was the youngest brother, the second to youngest brother, but where we're at in the story, his younger brother wasn't born yet. But can you imagine having 11 siblings? 11 brothers, and he was the 11th out of 12, and then they also had a sister named Dinah. Now, in our story, what we'll see is that Joseph, who's a very special young man, ends up being hated by his brothers. They all hated him, and they decided that they were going to kill him at first. Do you ever, when you're angry, you have a thought? It is. We're going to read about that today. It is the story about Joseph with the coat of many colors. So Joseph's brothers got really mad at him actually because of the coat of many colors. They really didn't like him. He got extra stuff. Why? Why did Dad love him more, it seemed? Have you guys ever been jealous of somebody else? Many times. What kind of things have you been jealous about? You don't have to share if you don't want to. Yeah. An RC car. Yeah. Many times. What is jealousy? Yeah. It's kind of like... Yeah, he said it's like coveting, but kind of through your mind, it's going, oh, I want that. And kind of not that it's just, I want that. When we get really jealous, sometimes we go, and that person who has it, they shouldn't have it either. And we start getting angry at other people. Isn't that weird? When really it's just about something that I want. I want to have a lollipop. Well, does it matter if your grandpa has a lollipop and I don't? It's still my problem because I'm the one without the lollipop, right? And I get jealous of him, and then I might look at him. Your grandpa's got some problems too. Maybe the adults will get that a little bit more than the kids. All right, so we're going to read this story. This is Genesis chapter 37. We're going to read through this whole chapter because there's a really a beautiful story about the way that we can deal with jealousy and what happens when we act in jealous ways. So, Genesis chapter 37 says, Now Jacob dwelt in the land where his father was a stranger in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. What does that mean, to bring a bad report of his brothers? Yeah? They're doing something stupid, right? So they're all out there tending the flock of sheep, and they might not be doing it very well. And so Joseph comes back and tells Dad, maybe not the best thing to do all the time. It says in verse 3, Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a tunic of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. So he said to them, Please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose, and it stood upright. All right, lost my spot. And it stood upright. Then, indeed, your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. So this is sheaves, like think about grass kind of bundled together, but it's of lots of wheat bundled together. And these things are bowing down to him. Then he dreamed still another dream. Oh, sorry, let me go back to verse 8. And his brother said to him, shall you indeed reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him even more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, look, I have dreamed another dream. And this time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me. So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come and bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied him. Envy is kind of like jealousy. But his father kept the matter in mind. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. So he said to them, here I am. Then he said to them, please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flocks, and bring back word to me. So he sent them out to the valley of Hebron and went to Shechem. Now a certain man found him, and there was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, what are you seeking? So he said, I am seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding their flocks. And the man said that they have departed from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. Now when they saw him from afar off, even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, look, this dreamer is coming. Come, therefore, let us kill him and cast him into some pit. And we shall say, some wild beast has devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams. But Reuben, who was the oldest brother, he heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit, which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him, that he might deliver him out of their hands and bring him to his father. So it came to pass, when Joseph had come to his brothers, that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him. They took him and cast him into the pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat a meal, and they lifted their eyes and looked, and there was a company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels, and they were bearing spices and balms and myrrh, and they were on their way to carry them down to Egypt. So Judah said to his brothers, what profit is this if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brothers listened. So he ends up being sold into the hands of the Ishmaelites, and he gets taken all the way down to the land of Egypt. So I want to think about this story and think about the way that they were being really jealous, right? They were jealous partially because they said that their father loved him more than others. So you imagine maybe all of them, they had these robes that were kind of plain. It's not a bad-looking robe, right? It still works. It would still cover you up. But then he gave Joseph a cloak of many colors. Now, they got jealous about this, but what's so special about a cloak of many colors? Because you guys have colorful clothes, right? Some of us wear very colorful clothes. Well, back then, it was not a very cheap thing. It was very expensive to get the dye and the material to make something that had lots of colors on it. So it was actually a very special gift to Joseph, right? So they were really, really jealous of all of these things. And Joseph had these dreams, and they thought his dreams were crazy because they were saying that they were going to bow down to Joseph, and they got angry and angrier. What did they end up doing with Joseph? They sold him, right? And what did they think about doing? They thought about killing him. And what did they actually do before they sold him? They threw him into a pit. This is terrible things, right? Remember how we were talking about if somebody else might have something that you want, and we might start thinking bad things about them? Now, if you happen to own this, Ella, if you had this beautiful cloak of many colors, and your parents gave it to you, does that make you super special? No, you're just like anybody else. You just kind of have one of these, right? So let's say that somebody else had one of those instead and you didn't. Should you be jealous about it? No. Why not? It's their problem, right? Or it's your problem that you don't have it, right? Sometimes jealousy doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because really, do we deserve anything that we have? That's a good question. If you went to work for somebody and they said, I'm going to pay you $5 an hour, does that sound like a good deal? How about $20 an hour? That's a little better. Okay, we've got to get this right. So when I was growing up, that would have been a lot of money, $5 an hour. Now, let's say you were doing the same work as somebody else that got paid $100 an hour. What would that make you think? Oh, you're trying to find other ways, right? Make sure that you... But you probably would feel a little bit jealous that somebody was getting paid. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you were trying to figure out, how is there some other way to not be jealous in here? But our minds do that, don't they? When we look at somebody else who has more of something that we want, or maybe they seem better looking, or smarter, or maybe they have a nicer car, or better toys, and we look at them, and it's not just that we want those things. It gets worse because we start thinking bad things about the other people. It's not bad to necessarily want things, but it is bad when we start really thinking negatively about other people. And in the story, that cloak of many colors, in a way, it's about our thoughts. A plain cloak would just be kind of earthly thoughts, all stuff about the world and about the things that we have, our money, the things that, how good we look. But the cloak of many colors is actually about our better thoughts, our higher thoughts, our thoughts about how we love the Lord and love the neighbor. What happens to Joseph's cloak? Yeah? They take it from him, and they ripped it into pieces. Do you know what happens when we let jealousy take over our minds and we start thinking really bad things about other people? We take all of the ideas that the Lord tells us about how we should love our neighbor and be kind to other people and try to do the Lord's will. Those are taken away. We throw them away. We put them into a pit. We sell them off. It's not a good thing, is it? So what's a way that we can get better about not being jealous? Do you have any thoughts? Yeah? Go to church every day. I like that answer. Even every Sunday, I like that answer. I think going to church would help. Absolutely. But I think we can catch ourselves when we start going, I want that. Can we stop ourselves and go, what does the Lord want me to think right now? Is it kind for me to be jealous of somebody else? Do I really need that thing? We can stop ourselves, right, and go, is this what the Lord really wants? Now we're going to continue our story next week. What happens to Joseph after he's sold down into Egypt? And I'll tell you what, it gets worse for him for a while. And then it gets really, really good because he follows the Lord over and over in his life. Okay? And please bow for a blessing on the children. The Lord give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Amen.